Okay, so yeah, welcome to the second tutorial class with me, Lutfiana Rahma. Actually, this meeting we will not have a lot of materials because today's class is canceled because Bu Femi is not feeling well. So our tutorial class today will only cover the material until the nominal and real interest rate part until slide 13. Okay, actually I have prepared the materials until the production and growth for chapter 25, but Bu Femi have not pertemuan di Bu Femi belum sampai situ ya. So ya kita bakalan hanya membahas yang sudah dibahas aja. So the first part or the first part of the materials is we would like to measure the cost of living ya, atau mengukur biaya hidup gitu. Nah, so for measuring the cost of living, usually the economy use a consumer price index as a statistic to measure the cost of living gitu. So here you can read from the first sentence. Consumer price index is a measure of the overall cost of the goods and services bought by a typical consumer. So from that sentence, you can know that CPI measure the cost of goods and services only bought by the consumer. So other goods and services that is not consumed by the consumer, it is not included in the CPI. Jadi kalau misalnya ada harga dari barang dan jasa yang tidak dikonsumsi oleh konsumen, maka nggak masuk ke CPI atau IHK ya, indeks harga konsumen. Jadi yang masuk ke IHK, indeks harga konsumen, atau yang masuk ke yang included in the consumer price index is only goods and services yang consumed by a consumer. Consumed by the consumer. Other goods and services that is not consumed by the consumer is not included in the CPI. Okay. So next sentence the CPI is used to monitor changes in the cost of living over time. So because consumers live and consume things, and when consumer consume things kan harus bayar ya, it costs kan. Nah, untuk melihat perubahan harganya, to monitor the changes in the price of the goods that consumer is consumed, maka we use CPI ya, gitu. Nah, so when the CPI rises the typical family has to spend more money to maintain the same standard of living. So maybe kalau misalnya kita ambil cerita di dunia nyatanya gitu ya, when the CPI rises gitu ya, in order to keep consuming the same amount of goods gitu ya, the typical family has to spend more money. Gitu. Jadi kalau harganya makin naik, tapi sebuah keluarga atau sebuah rumah tangga gitu ya pengen mengonsumsi barang dengan jumlah yang sama, maka ya harus ngeluarin uang yang lebih banyak karena harganya semakin mahal, kayak gitu. Nah later the raising of the price gitu ya, the rising of the price level. The economists use the term inflation to describe that situation. Jadi inflation is a situation in which the economy's overall price level is rising ya. Jadi kalau tingkat harga secara keseluruhan di dalam perekonomian itu naik, maka itu yang disebut sebagai inflasi. So kalau kita ngomongin tingkat inflasi ya, atau di sini disebutnya sebagai inflation rate ya. Inflation rate is the percentage change in the price level from the previous period. Jadi if we see that the price level is rising from the previous period, yeah, it is called inflation. How much the price level is rising, it is the inflation rate. Gitu. Nah, to measure the price level, yeah, to measure the price level here, we use one indicator. We use one indicator, which is the consumer price index. So here is 5 steps to calculate or to measure the inflation by using the CPI or consumer price index. Actually, if you would like to calculate the inflation, there is so many methods. Actually, there is two. There is 2 methods to measure inflation. The first one is by using CPI or consumer price index, and the second one is by using the GDP deflator. Okay, so in this slide and in the next slide, we will study how to measure the inflation rate by using the CPI. Okay, so first of all, you have to calculate the CPI first before calculating the inflation, gitu ya. You have to calculate the CPI first before moving to the inflation calculation. So first of all, you have to have a fixed basket. Actually, the more consumer buys good, the greater will be the weight of the good in measuring the cost of living. So here we choose the basket. For example, here we have a fixed basket of goods. For example, for hot dogs and 2 hamburgers. So for the next period of time, we observe how the price changes in these 4 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers. Gitu. So we only observe based on the same basket over years. That is how to calculate the CPI. So actually here, when we use the CPI, we only use the quantity. Kita cuma pakai quantity dari satu periode tertentu aja, gitu. Nanti kita bakalan latihan ya di belakang. The second, find the prices of course, if you would like to observe the consumer price index namanya juga price index, so we have to observe the price level, the price and the price of each goods, gitu ya. And then after that, we compute the basket cost. We calculate the cost of the basket of goods and services at different times. So before we have we have fixed our basket. So our basket is 4 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers. So each year we calculate the cost of the basket. For example, for year 2019, we have 4 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers. And for calculating the cost, we have to see the price of the hot dogs and the price of the hamburgers in 2019. Here, the price of the hot dogs is $1, and the price of the hamburgers is $2 in 2019. So our cost of the basket of goods for year 2019 is $8. Gitu. So is for 2020 or 2020, still the same basket for hot dogs and 2 hamburgers, with the price of the hot dog is $2 and the price of the hamburgers is $3. So if you sum the cost for hot dogs which is 8 plus 6 the hamburgers, so 8 plus 6 is 14. So it's for the 2021 or 2021, you still have the same basket for hot dogs and 2 hamburgers, but with different price. The price for the hot dog is rising from 2 to 3 jadi 3 nih di tahun 2021, dan di tahun 2021 berarti hamburgers price-nya adalah 4. Seperti itu. Ya, so the cost for the basket of the good in 2021 is 20 ya. Seperti itu. Nah, after calculating the basket cost ya, berarti di sini itu kalau misalnya kita tulis ya dalam bahasa matematikanya gitu ya, kamu mau menghitung sigma PN dikali dengan Q0 gitu. So sigma is the summation of all price in year end times quantity in base year. Nah, later maybe we will we will try to measure ya. Kita nanti bakalan coba buat ngitung the basket cost-nya gitu. Okay, and then after you find the cost of the basket for each year, we have to choose the base year, and also next we can compute the consumer price index. Yeah, so the consumer price index is the price of basket in current year divided by the price of the basket in the base year. So suppose that the base year is 2019, yeah. So later we know that the CPI for the 2019 yeah will be the CPI for 2019 will be the price atau basket cost saja ya, will be the basket cost for 2019 divided by the basket cost for the base year. Nah, here we assume that the base year is 2019 ya, berarti di sini juga divided by 2019 juga times 100. Ya, so the CPI in 2019 will be 100 divided by 100 times 100. So it is 100, right? But if we measure the consumer price index for 2020, yeah, so it is the basket cost, yeah, in current year, berarti in 2020 divided by the basket cost in base year. So it is the cost for 2019, yeah, times 100. So the CPI would be 175 divided by 100 times 100 ya. So it is 175, and so on. You can calculate the CPI for 2021 using the same formula ya. After finding the CPI for each year, then you can move forward to calculating the inflation ya, the inflation rate. So the inflation rate is the CPI in year 2 ya. The inflation rate in year 2 is the CPI in year 2 minus the CPI in year 1 divided by the CPI in year 1. So for example, for here ya, continuing our calculation in the previous slide. So if you would like to calculate the inflation rate in 2020, you can use the formula is CPI 2020 minus CPI 2019 divided by CPI 2019 times 100 ini persen ya, supposedly. Okay, so it is 175 minus 100 per 100 times 100%. So the inflation rate would be 75%. So the inflation rate for the 2020 is 75%. So that is how to calculate the inflation rate by using the CPI. Yeah. So in order to get the number for the inflation rate, you have to know first the CPI. Yeah. And to know the CPI, you have to know the price of the goods, the quantity of the good, and then the cost of its basket. Gitu. Nah, that is the steps ya for calculating the inflation rate from the CPI. Next, we have problems. Yeah, there is some weaknesses. If you measure the inflation using the consumer price index, there is at least 3 problems. The first is the substitution bias. Yeah, the explanation is like this. Yeah, so if some prices rise more than others, for example, you are a consumer, you are consuming some variation of goods, ya, you are consuming so many kinds of good gitu ya. Kamu konsumsi kan, dalam kamu konsumsi itu kamu konsumsinya nggak cuma satu jenis barang aja kan. There is so many goods and services that you are consuming. Okay. Now, maybe some prices of the goods that you are consuming is rise more than others rise. Jadi ada suatu barang tertentu yang tingkat kenaikan harganya itu lebih besar daripada harga yang lain. Gitu. Nah, regarding this price rising gitu ya, the consumers respond ya to the rising prices kan. Consumer respond by buying less of the goods whose prices have risen less. Jadi, for example, you have two goods ya. You have two goods, for example, goods A and goods B gitu ya. Goods A and goods B. The price of A is rising, meanwhile the price of B is not. So there is a substitution ya. For consumer ya, it is more apa ya? Pasti dia bakalan beli lebih banyak barang B gitu kan ya. Karena barang A-nya harganya semakin naik, semakin mahal, sedangkan barang B-nya harganya sama aja. Jadi otomatis di sini bakalan ada peralihan konsumsi nih. Orang pasti bakalan mengurangi konsumsinya untuk barang A dan bisa jadi nanti berpindah jadi mengkonsumsi barang B. Nah, sayangnya gitu ya, if you want to calculate the CPI, you have fixed basket. Yeah. So CPI, the calculation of CPI does not include the changes in the quantity because of the rising prices. Gitu. Jadi perhitungan CPI itu tidak mengakomodir perubahan kuantitas barang A yang diminta dan kuantitas barang B yang diminta. So that's why gitu ya, because the price index is computed by assuming a fixed basket of goods, the CPI ignores the possibility of consumer substitution, and therefore, in the end, it will overstate the increase in the cost of living. Jadi seakan-akan nanti the cost of living-nya itu naiknya banyak banget. Ya, soalnya kan kalau kita mau menghitung consumer price index, kalau kita menghitung cost of living, kita pakai consumer price index, gitu kan? Oke, kita pakai consumer price index. Kita menghitung consumer price index itu pakai the total cost of the basket kan? Berarti kan kita pakai nanti harga A ditambah kuantitas A harga A dikali kuantitas A ya, ditambah nanti kan harga B dikali kuantitas B. Nah, ini kan cost of the basket kan. Nah, supposedly kalau misalnya harga A-nya rising, the quantity of A must be decreasing. Nah, but the CPI does not measure the decreasing of the quantity-nya. Sehingga sebenarnya kalau ini dihitungnya turun juga gitu kan ya, pasti nanti akan ada pengurangan dari cost of the basket-nya, sehingga nanti CPI-nya juga ikut turun. Nah, itu yang gagal di capture sama perhitungan cost of living dengan menggunakan consumer price index. Nantinya kalau misalnya CPI-nya overstate, maka kalau kamu menghitung inflation pakai CPI itu juga biasanya akan menimbulkan overstate. Tuh. gitu ya. Nah, kemudian yang kedua ya, the second is the introduction of new goods. Nah, if we calculate the CPI, we calculate the CPI itu based on fixed basket of goods and services ya. So it does not reflect the increase in value of our dollars that arises from the introduction of new goods. Jadi pertama new goods jadi nggak punya tempat gitu ya, nggak punya basket karena basketnya kan sudah di fix ya. Suppose there is goods C here, ya goods C is a new goods, but our basket is fixed. Basket kita sudah ditetapkan hanya terdiri atas barang A dan barang B saja. Maka barang C nggak kebagian tempat nih di basket kita. Akhirnya ya barang C jadi tidak masuk nih. Kita jadi nggak bisa melihat gimana perubahan harga itu dengan memasukkan barang C, karena barang C tidak ada di basket kita. Nah, this problem is always occurring because along with the technological advancement ya, we have so much new goods nowadays ya kan. Kayak misalnya paket data ya. Your data for internet connection itu kan barang itu kan tidak ada 10 tahun yang lalu gitu. Nah, so it is absolutely a new goods. Then if we calculate the CPI, it does not include it is not included in the calculation of the consumer price index kayak gitu. And then the third is the unmeasured quality change, because changes in quality remaining to be a problem ya, because the quality is so hard to measure gitu. So from at least these three problems in measuring the cost of living from CPI measurement, several studies concluded that the CPI sometimes overstated the inflation, but by about 1 percentage point per year. Nah, di sini sebenarnya ada data, tapi ini data dari US ya, inflationnya US. Aku belum sempat ambil data dari inflationnya Indonesia, tapi di sini kamu bisa lihat tingkat inflasi yang dihitung dengan menggunakan CPI itu lebih tinggi gitu ya, overstate tuh. Misalnya di tahun 1975, ini kan CPI-nya is much higher ya, the inflation rate that is calculated from the CPI is higher compared when it is calculated by using the GDP deflator. Seperti itu. Okay. Nah, actually I have mentioned before ya, if we want to calculate the inflation rate, we can use two measures ya. We can use the CPI, we can use both the CPI and the GDP deflator. Actually, the calculation is the same ya. The inflation rate by using inflation rate misalnya 2020 gitu ya. So if you want to measure by using the CPI, so it is the CPI in 2020 minus the CPI in 2019 gitu ya, divided by CPI in 2019 times 100%. And if you would like to calculate the inflation rate by using the GDP deflator, it is actually the same ya. GDP deflator in 2020 minus GDP deflator in 2019 divided by GDP deflator in 2019 times 100%. Ya. GDP deflator in 2020 ya, it is calculated by comparing the GDP nominal divided by GDP real ya, yang kita udah bahas di pertemuan sebelumnya ya, times 100. Ya, ini recall aja ya. Nah, so what is actually the difference ya between the calculation of inflation rate by using CPI and the inflation rate by using GDP deflator. So here is how CPI and GDP deflator differs in calculating the inflation rate. The first ya, if we calculate the inflation rate by using CPI, actually CPI kan measures price changes from goods and services bought by typical consumers. Meanwhile, if we calculate the inflation rate by using GDP deflator itu di GDP deflator measures price changes from the overall goods and services, including the goods bought by the government and the goods that is bought by firms, capital goods gitu ya. These two goods ya, the goods that bought by government and bought by the firms is not included in the CPI calculation. CPI is only measure the price changes from goods and services bought by the consumers. Gitu. That is the first difference ya. The second difference is if we calculate the CPI ya, the calculation of the CPI includes goods and services consumed by our people, but it doesn't concern with the location of the production of that goods. So the price of imported goods is still included in the CPI. But for the GDP deflator, yeah, GDP deflator only includes all goods and services that is produced domestically. So imported goods are not part of the GDP deflator. Sorry, imported goods is not part of the GDP, so it is also not a part of the GDP deflator. Kayak gitu. Jadi nanti dia nggak bakalan masuk ke perhitungan inflasi dengan GDP deflator. And then the third if we calculate the CPI uses fixed weight for goods and services because our basket is fixed ya. Meanwhile, for the GDP deflator, the weight is different year to year ya, because it changes according to our current year production gitu. Jadi weightingnya itu nggak fix karena di GDP deflator basketnya itu tidak, basket dari barang dan jasanya itu tidak fix ya. Ya dia mengikuti berapapun jumlah barang dan jasa yang diproduksi di tahun itu saja gitu. Ya, jadi that is at least there are at least three differences between the CPI and the GDP deflator for calculating the inflation rate. Okay. Now later, if we have we already had the amount of the inflation rate gitu ya. Actually, there is so many kind of inflation rate. For example, in Indonesia we have four inflation headline inflation, core inflation, volatile inflation, and also administered inflation. It is differ by the goods that is captured in the calculation ya. For example, for the headline inflation for the headline inflation, it is calculated by using CPI, so it still includes the price of volatile goods. Pokoknya di headline inflation ini dia memasukkan mengcapture perubahan harga dari semua barang dan jasa. So it is usually used to capture the cost of living of the people, gitu ya. But if we calculate the core inflation, we calculate by using the CPI that has excluded the price of the volatile goods. So we exclude first the price of the volatile goods from our calculation, then we will have the amount of the core inflation. It is usually used to capture the long run inflation how is the inflation trend over years gitu. And then the third is the volatile inflation. It only captures the price changes for the volatile goods. Actually, the volatile goods usually comes from food category, For example, chili gitu kan, kalau di Indonesia kan cabai tuh yang harganya naik turun, bawang merah, bawang putih gitu kan, minyak goreng itu kan kayak volatile. So usually government take parts to intervene the price like what we have in our palm oil. Gitu. Okay, and then the fourth is the administered inflation The administered inflation only captures the price changes from the goods that whose prices is fully or highly regulated by the government. For example, listrik gitu ya, BBM, electricity, fuel. Kalau di Indonesia kan it is highly regulated ya. So there is for these four kinds of inflation ya in Indonesia. Oke, and then kenapa sih kita harus menghitung harga dari barang dan jasa? Nah ini sebenarnya ada banyak contoh cerita ya. Misalnya kalau di buku itu ada cerita tentang pemain baseball ya yang di 8 tahun lalu dia digaji dengan sekian dolar. Terus di tahun sekarang kayak sekian dolar. Nah, kita compare nih, kira-kira gaji yang mana yang lebih makmur gitu ya. Nah, ini aku udah bikin contoh kasusnya juga ya. For example, in 1971, David is an accountant with income of berapa nih? 13 million and 200,000 rupiah gitu ya, a year. While Fitri is also an accountant with income of 70 million rupiah a year. Oh ya, ini belum dikasih tahunnya ya. In 2019. Jadi di sini kita bisa lihat kita disuruh bandingin gitu sebenarnya. Uang 13.200.000 di tahun 71, di tahun 1971 dan uang 70 juta di tahun 2019 itu lebih powerful mana gitu kalau buat beli barang dan jasa. Nah, so if we would like to calculate which nominal amount is more powerful to purchasing the goods ya, which one has more purchasing power over the other, we have to know the CPI. So it is given ya, given that the CPI with 20 apa nih? Ya, given that the CPI with 2012 as base year from BPS stated that CPI in 1971 was 25.2 and in 2019 was 149.5. Is Fitri more prosperous than David gitu ya. Nah, di sini kita bisa langsung ngelihat aja nih. Apa nih yang bisa kita lihat ya? Kita bisa lihat nilai yang David punya di tahun 1971 itu berapa sih? Nah, di sini ada rumusnya ya. Amount in today's dollar, kalau kita mau lihat nilai uangnya David yang di tahun 1971 ini berapa? Cara ngitungnya adalah the amount in year T in dollars gitu ya, dikali price level today dibagi dengan price level in year T. Jadi di sini dulu itu nilai uangnya 13.200.000 dikali price level today divided by price level year T, berarti 149,5 dibagi 25.2 ya. So jadi jika 13.200.000-nya ini di tahun 1971 ditranslate pakai nilai sekarang, nilainya akan jadi 78.309. So it is obvious ya that David today's dollar is higher than Fitri today's dollar. So it can be said that David is more prosperous than Fitri, and it cannot be said that Fitri is more prosperous than David because she gets less gitu. Ya, mungkin rumusnya bisa diubah jadi gini ya. Amount of today's dollar divided by price level today equal to amounts of year T dollars divided by price level in year T. Gitu. Jadi gitu ya. Atau misalnya kita mungkin apa ya, kalau dipersingkat lagi gitu ya rumusnya, itu bisa jadi kayak gini nih. Pendapatan atau nilai nominal ya, Y nominal in apa nih? In now berarti in current year divided by CPI in year end equals to the Y nominal now ya, berarti year T gitu ya, divided by the CPI in year T gitu ya. Mungkin rumusnya bisa disimplify jadi seperti itu. Oke, so next ya. Terkadang penghitungan CPI atau angka CPI itu juga useful for the sake of indexation ya, untuk keperluan indexation. Indexation is the automatic correction by law or contract of a dollar amount for the effects of inflation. For example, for the employment agreement ya, employment agreement gitu ya. Usually there is a cost living allowance or COLA ya, which automatically raise the employee wage if atau when the CPI rises gitu. Jadi if the CPI rises by 5%, the nominal wage ya, will also rises by 5%. So di sini sebenarnya yang mau tetap dipertahankan itu adalah gaji realnya gitu. Atau setidaknya consumers itu bisa membeli barang dengan jumlah yang sama setiap tahunnya. Oke, jadi kesejahteraannya tidak turun. Nah, ini yang nggak terjadi kalau misalnya kita lihat di employee yang punya wage-nya itu fix. For example, kalau di Indonesia itu PNS gitu ya, pegawai negeri sipil atau civil servant. Nah, itu kan karena gajinya tetap gitu ya. So kalau the CPI rises, their nominal wage keeps the same ya. So actually they can only buy less good. Gitu. Nanti kita bakalan belajar ada yang namanya tingkat upah real juga sih ya. Nah oke. Oh ternyata nggak ada ya. Oke, jadi kalau kita mau ngitung tingkat upah real ya, atau wage real, cara ngitungnya adalah nominal wage divided by the CPI. Gitu. So that's why kenapa si cost of living allowance ini dipertahankan adalah karena if the CPI rises but the nominal wage keeps the same, gitu ya. So actually what will happen is the real wage will decrease. So to avoid that condition, there is a cost living allowance ya. So if the consumer price index is rising, then they will increase the nominal wage too, so that at least the real wage is the same like the previous year, kayak gitu. Jadi seenggaknya nilai real real wage-nya itu tetap sama. Real wage ini yang disebut sebagai daya beli dari konsumennya atau purchasing power. Kayak gitu. Oke, we move to the next slide ya. Nah, ini ada yang disebut dengan real interest rate and nominal interest rate. If you go to a bank gitu ya misalnya, atau if you invest your money in some investment asset gitu ya, or securities and anything gitu ya, misalnya either stocks or bonds gitu kan, they usually states that you will get a return of for example 7% a year gitu ya. So it is the nominal interest rate. Yeah, it is actually the amount of money that you will get after a year ya, after a year of the investment gitu. Nah, so the nominal interest rate is an interest rate that is stated, yeah. So it is the rate of the growth in the dollar value of a deposit. For example, you deposit 1 million rupiah, gitu ya. 1 million rupiah with the nominal interest rate is 7%. So in the end of the period, you will get 107 million. Okay, so your value of deposit will increase by 7%. This is the nominal interest rate. Meanwhile, the real interest rate is the interest rate that is corrected for inflation. So, for example, yeah, it is known that the inflation rate is 3%. So, actually, your money grows, yeah, your money grows atau berbunga gitu ya. Your money grows by 7%, but the inflation occurs, so your money value decreased by 3%. So rises by 7%, decreased by 3%. So at the end, you will see that your money is only growing by 4%. So 7% is the nominal interest rate. Nominal interest rate, or E, yeah. 3% is the inflation, or P, yeah, and 4% is the real interest rate, or R. So based on this example, yeah, you know that the formula for the real interest rate is nominal interest rate minus inflation, ya. Nominal interest rate minus inflation is the real interest rate. Ya, ini dia. Real interest rate itu adalah nominal minus the inflation rate. By measuring the real interest rate, we can see the real increase of our money adjusted with the inflation rate, or actually we can see the increase in the purchasing power of our deposit, gitu, atau our money, gitu ya. Itu real dan nominal interest rate. Oke, nah sekarang kita coba latihan ngitung ini ya. Ini adalah soal UTS ya, Introduction to Macroeconomics. Disuruh ngitung nominal GDP, real GDP, dan lain-lain. Nah, so let's calculate aja ya. The nominal GDP and real GDP for each year ya. Oke, nah sekarang nomor 1 dulu. Kalau kita mau ngitung nominal GDP ya, GDP nominal. So it is actually we want to calculate ya, for example the GDP nominal in year end gitu ya. You want to calculate the amount of the production or the amount of the quantity that is produced in year end, but with current price. So with year end prices. So if we would like to calculate the GDP nominal in year 2017, yeah, we have to sum the price in 2019 times quantity in 2019 gitu ya, for each goods gitu ya. Jadi di sini berarti harga 2017 dari milk ya. Berarti di sini tuh kayak ya udah 1 kali 100 gitu ya. Ditambah 2 kali 50. Atau ini aku pindah ke kanan aja ya. 1 kali 100 plus 2 times 500. 50 ya, sorry. So it is 200. And then for GDP nominal 2018, it is the sigma price 2018 times the quantity in 2018. So it is 2 times 50, ya kan? 2 times 50 for milk, ya. And then for honey 2 times 40. So it is 200 also. And then GDP nominal in 2019 ya, berarti berapa nih? Sigma P 2019 times Q 2019 gitu ya, sama dengan berarti 3 times 200 plus 3 times 100. So it is 600 tambah 300 ya. 900. So it is the GDP nominal ya for each year. And then next we calculate the GDP real for each year ya. The formula is we would like to calculate the quantity of the production but using kalau GDP real itu pakai harga di tahun dasar ya, atau we use the price in the base year. So if you would like to calculate the GDP real in 2017 ya, because it is stated that 2017 is the base year, so we always use the price in year 2017 as our base year gitu ya. Jadi nanti ngitung GDP real di 2018 juga sama, berarti harganya tetap pakai harga 2017. Gitu. Oke, jadi di sini harga yang selalu dipakai price of milk-nya adalah 1 dan price of honey-nya adalah 3. Gitu ya. Nanti kuantitinya ini dikali kuantiti 2017, ini dikali kuantiti 2018, ini kuantiti 2019. Oke, so di sini berarti nanti kita bakal dapat 1 kali 100 ya, tambah 2 kali 50, 200. Kalau ini berarti harganya tetap sama ya, berarti harganya tetap pakai 1 dan 2. Kita berarti tinggal nyari kuantitinya aja kan sebenarnya. Oke, kuantitinya ini 50, ini 50, berarti berapa nih? 150 ya. Ini 200 nih, ini 100. Oke, berarti ini adalah 400. So, sekarang kita cari GDP deflatornya ya. Oke, GDP deflator year end itu ngitungnya adalah GDP nominal in year end dibagi dengan GDP real in year end. Ya, so GDP deflator 2017 itu adalah 200 dibagi 200 ya. Kali 100 berarti 100. GDP deflator 2018 berarti berapa nih? 150, GDP nominal dulu ya, berarti 200 per 150 kali 100, berapa nih? 4/3 ya, 133,33. And then GDP deflator 2019 itu adalah 900 per 400 kali 100, berapa nih? 9 per 4. 225 ya. Gitu. Jadi itu GDP deflatornya. Oke, dan ya buat yang 1 ya. Sekarang next itu adalah yang nomor 2 nih. Compute the consumer price index for each year using 2017 as the base year ya. Dan kamu disuruh di sini and 2017 basket as the fixed basket to calculate the CPI. Jadi di sini pertama-tama kan disuruh fix the basket dulu kan. Di fix the basket. Basket yang fix adalah basket untuk tahun 2017. So di sini kita punya 100 milk dan 50 honey. Gitu. Jadi kita bakalan pakai harga ini nih. Bakalan pakai quantity ini. Oke. Kemudian yang kedua, fix the price kan ya. Fix the price, langkah yang kedua. Nah, harganya ya ini harga 2017 ini gitu ya. Harga yang 2018 dan 2019 pakai harga yang itu. Jadi kita bakalan tetap pakai harga yang sama. Nah, sekarang kita disuruh ngitung CPI buat tahun 2017 dulu ya. So CPI 2017 itu rumusnya apa tadi nih? Di sebelumnya ya. Ngitungnya kita pakai kita pakai cost of basket dulu ya. Jadi kita bagi cost of basket di tahun yang lagi kita hitung, CPI-nya, dibagi dengan cost of the basket in 2000 and di base year-nya. Oke, jadi kita cari, ternyata kita cari cost of basket dulu ya. Boleh deh. Kita cari cost of basketnya dulu. Di 2017, cost of basketnya berarti harga milknya 1 dikali 100 milk gitu ya. Ditambah harga honey-nya 2 dikali 50. Berarti ini 200 gitu ya. 2017 ya, kita pakai harga 2018 kita pakai harga 2018, tapi basketnya pakai basket yang udah kita tetapin nih. Jadi harganya pakai 2 gitu ya. Terus ini juga harga honey-nya 2, tapi kuantitinya pakai kuantiti basket yang ada di sini. Jadi 200 tambah 100 ya, berarti 300. Di 2019 harganya pakai harga di 2019 berarti 3 sama 3. Ya, tapi basketnya pakai yang ini, 100, ini 50. So it is 300 plus 150 berarti 450 gitu. So it is the CPI. Oke? Nah, next kita bisa ini cost of the basket ya, bukan CPI. Nah, kalau mau ngitung CPI-nya, pertama kita ngitung CPI buat 2017 ya. CPI 2017-nya berarti kita pakai CPI di current year, berarti CPI 2017 dibagi dengan CPI di base year. Kebetulan base year kita 2017 ya. Berarti times 100. So it is ya 100 sih sebenarnya, nggak usah dihitung ya. Kalau CPI 2018, it is the CPI in total. Sorry, ini bukan CPI ya. Ini cost of basket. Cost di 2018 dibagi cost di 2017 ini ya, dikali 100. Berarti ini adalah 300 per 200 kali 100 ya. 150. And then di 2000 sorry. Wow, kegesernya jauh ya. And then di 2019 berarti ini cost 2019 divided by cost 2017 ya, base year-nya, kali 100 berarti 450 per 200 kali 100. Berapa nih? 225 ya. Seperti itu. Oke, nah CPI-nya udah ketemu. Sekarang we move to the number 3 ya. Disuruh ngitung inflation rate di tahun 2018 dan 2019 pakai GDP deflator dan CPI. First, we use the GDP deflator first and then the CPI ya. Okay, for inflation in 2018 ya, berarti kalau ngitungnya pakai GDP deflator, ini adalah GDP deflator 2018 minus GDP deflator in the previous year, berarti tahun 17, per GDP deflator in 17 ya, times 100%. So it is berapa nih? 150 mana nih? 133,33 minus 100 ya kan? Divided by 100 times 100%. So it is 133 ya, percent. Meanwhile, if we calculate by using the CPI, inflation in 2018 would be the CPI in 2018 minus the CPI in 17 per CPI in 17 times 100%. So it will be 1 ini ya, times 100%. It is 50%. So like what we have stated below ya, before the inflation rate calculation by using the CPI is overstated, right? It is higher than when we calculate the inflation by using the GDP deflator. So next, the inflation in 2019 ya, it is the GDP in 2019 minus the GDP deflator in 2018 divided by the GDP deflator in 2018 times 100%. So it is ini ya 225 minus 133,33 per 133,33 times 100%. Ya. So wait, I will calculate it first ya. 225 minus 133,33 per 133,33. It is around 68,75%. Meanwhile, the inflation for 2019 by using the CPI, gini ya ngitungnya ya. Times 100%. So it is 225 minus 150 per 150 times 100%. So it is 75 dibagi 150 ya. 50%. So ya, compare the result. Sebenarnya bisa beda-beda ya. Deviation-nya pasti akan ada. There will always be a deviation between the calculation for the inflation rate by using the GDP deflator and the calculation for the inflation rate by using the consumer price index. There will be always a deviation gitu. Because ya kita ngitungnya juga pakai cara yang berbeda. Okay. So today's material covers until these materials ya, until the nominal and real interest rate, and we have already exercise ya, try the previous exams, the previous midterm exam for the introduction to macroeconomics. Do you have any question? Ada yang mau bertanya? Aman ya? Aman kan ya? Oke, nggak ada yang... Oke.
Aman, Kak.
Sip. Oke. Oke, aku stop sharing ya. Bentar, jangan keluar dulu ya. Bentar, jangan keluar dulu. Aku mau... Wait. Oke.